I didn't find out through a text message, or a smear of lipstick on a collar, or the scent of cheap perfume. Those cliches are for amateurs. My husband Caleb was a professional charmer, and professionals don't make messy mistakes. Or so I thought. It was Tuesday evening. The house was quiet, the kind of heavy silence you only find in a large, empty home in the suburbs of Connecticut. I was in Caleb's study, looking for a simple ballpoint pen to sign a permission slip for the landscapers. I opened the bottom drawer of his heavy mahogany desk, the one he usually kept locked, but tonight, the latch had caught. I pushed aside a stack of car invoices and saw a book, The Art of War. Strange reading for a man who sells luxury convertibles. But it wasn't the book that stopped my heart. It was what was tucked inside it, marking page 42, a glossy, black and white square. An ultrasound photo. My fingers, usually steady enough to sign billion-dollar merger contracts, trembled as I picked it up. At first, my brain refused to process the image. I thought it was a mistake, a prank. But then I saw the date. 2 days ago. And then I saw the name printed in the top left corner. Patient, Alexis Lexi Miller. The air left my lungs as if I'd been punched in the gut. Lexi. Not a stranger. Not a random model from his showroom. Lexi was the daughter of Sarah, my best friend who passed away from cancer 5 years ago. I had held Sarah's hand as she took her last breath. I had promised her, I will look after Lexi like she's my own. I paid for Lexi's college. I bought her first car. I got her the job at the reception desk of Caleb's dealership because she said she needed a safe place to start. I looked at the grainy image of the fetus again. 12 weeks. I did the math. 3 months ago, I was in London for a 2-week arbitration case. Caleb had stayed behind to handle inventory. Lexi had been house-sitting for us to water the plants. Nausea rose in my throat, hot and acidic. The betrayal wasn't just sexual, it was incestuous in its cruelty. They had defiled my home, my trust, and the memory of a dead woman who loved us all. I heard the front door open downstairs. "Vic, honey, I'm home." Caleb's voice boomed, cheerful and rich, the voice of a man who owned the world. "You won't believe the deal I closed on the Aston Martin today." Footsteps echoed on the hardwood stairs. He was coming up. Panic seized me. My instinct was to scream, to tear the photo into pieces, to run downstairs and throw it in his handsome lying face. I wanted to be the grieving wife. I wanted to be the victim. But then the lawyer in me woke up. I am Victoria Sinclair. I don't throw tantrums. I build cases. I destroy opponents with evidence, not emotion. If I confronted him now, he would lie. He would gaslight me. He would say it's not his, or that Lexi trapped him. He would hide the assets, my assets that I foolishly let him manage. I took a deep breath, forcing my heart rate to slow down. I slid the ultrasound photo back into the Art of War, exactly as I had found it. I closed the drawer. I turned around just as Caleb walked into the doorway. He looked impeccable in his navy suit, his smile bright and boyish. He didn't look like a monster. He looked like the man I had adored for 10 years. "Hey," he said, loosening his tie. "What are you doing in here? You look pale." He walked over and placed a hand on my forehead. His palm was warm, the same hand that had likely rested on Lexi's stomach 2 days ago. I forced the corners of my mouth up. It was the hardest thing I had ever done. "Just a headache, darling," I lied, my voice steady, cold steel wrapped in velvet. "I was looking for a pen, but I think I need a glass of wine instead." Caleb kissed my cheek. "Go sit down, I'll pour it for you. You work too hard, Vic, you need to relax." He walked past me to the liquor cabinet, humming a tune. I watched his back. The man I loved was dead. Standing there was a defendant, and I was the judge, jury, and eventually the executioner. I wouldn't say a word, not yet. I would wait. The problem with living a lie is that it requires a lot of energy. And frankly, my husband Caleb doesn't have the stamina for it. 3 days after finding the ultrasound, I decided to host a casual Sunday brunch. I invited Lexi. I told Caleb, "The poor girl looks so tired lately, let's feed her." Caleb looked like he had swallowed a live frog. "Oh, great idea, honey. You're so generous." Sunday arrived. The sun was shining, the birds were singing, and I was preparing to torture my husband with breakfast pastries. Lexi arrived wearing an oversized hoodie that looked like a tent. She used to wear crop tops that showed off her navel piercing, but today she was dressed like a monk in hiding. She looked pale. Green, actually. "Hi, Auntie Vic," she squeaked, avoiding my eyes. "Lexi, you look Glowing. I lied, leading her to the patio. We sat down. I had set a trap. A delicious, bubbly trap. Let's start with a toast, I announced, lifting a pitcher of freshly made mimosas, champagne and orange juice, heavy on the champagne. I poured a glass for Caleb. He gulped it down like it was water in a desert. Nerves. Then I turned to Lexi. Here you go, sweetie. Bottoms up. I extended the glass. The moment was pure slapstick comedy. Lexi stared at the alcohol like it was a cup of poison. Her eyes darted to Caleb. Caleb's eyes bulged. He looked like a deer in headlights, if the deer was wearing a polo shirt 2 sizes too small to show off his gym muscles. Just as Lexi reached for the glass with a trembling hand, Caleb practically dove across the table. No, he shouted, knocking the salt shaker over. I raised an eyebrow. Caleb? Caleb scrambled, his face turning beet red. She can't have that. Why not? I asked innocently, sipping my own drink. Is the champagne not vintage enough for her? No, it's the acidity, Caleb blurted out. He was sweating now. Lexi told me at work she has acid reflux, terrible heartburn. The orange juice will kill her. I looked at Lexi. She nodded vigorously, clutching her throat. Yeah, huge heartburn, burning, like fire. I fought the urge to laugh out loud. Oh, really? That's strange. Last month we ate Mexican food with extra jalapenos and you were fine, but now orange juice is the enemy? It comes and goes, Caleb said, wiping his forehead with a napkin. Stress, it's stress, right, Lexi? Totally stress, Lexi agreed. Then the smell of the bacon I was frying wafted out from the kitchen. Lexi's face went from green to gray. She clamped a hand over her mouth, mumbled, bathroom, and sprinted inside. We heard the distinct sound of retching echoing from the guest powder room. I looked at Caleb. He was trying to cut his waffle, but his knife was clattering against the plate because his hands were shaking so hard. Poor thing, I said, buttering my toast calmly. Must be a stomach bug, or maybe she ate something improper. Caleb choked on his coffee. Yeah, probably bad sushi. I'll go check on her. Sit down, Caleb, I commanded. My voice wasn't loud, but it had the weight of a judge's gavel. You're not a doctor. Let the girl puke in peace. Pass me the syrup. He sat back down, looking like a scolded puppy. He kept glancing at the door, terrified. I watched him. This man who thought he was a mastermind couldn't even lie about orange juice without sweating through his shirt. It was pathetic. It was hilarious. And it was just the beginning. If Caleb was a criminal mastermind, he would have been caught robbing a bank because he forgot to put his mask on. A week after the mimosa incident, I decided to pay a surprise visit to Caleb's luxury car showroom. I told him I was bringing him lunch, a peace offering for the stomach flu incident. I walked into the showroom, looking every bit the supportive wife in my trench coat and heels. The place was gleaming. Polished floors, polished cars, and polished salesmen with fake tans. I didn't see Caleb in his office. I scanned the floor and spotted him near the back, standing next to a sleek, bright red 2-seater convertible. He was arguing with a delivery guy. I approached quietly, my heels clicking softly on the marble. Just put it in the trunk, man, hurry up, Caleb was hissing, wiping sweat from his upper lip. It won't fit, boss, the delivery guy said, scratching his head. The box is too big? Make it fit. Fold it, smash it. Caleb, I called out, putting on my best smile. Caleb jumped about a foot in the air. He spun around, spreading his arms wide like a starfish trying to hide a whale. Vic, honey, what are you doing here? His voice cracked. He looked like a teenager caught smoking behind the school gym. I looked past his shoulder. The delivery guy was holding a massive box. On the side, printed in cheerful pastel letters, were the words, Deluxe Smart Stroller, the Rolls-Royce of prams. I stared at the box. Then I stared at the red sports car. Then I stared at Caleb. A stroller? I asked, tilting my head. Caleb's eyes darted around the room. You could practically hear the rusty gears in his brain grinding together. Yes, a stroller, he declared, puffing out his chest. It's, a new promotion, a marketing strategy. I blinked. A marketing strategy? Exactly. He was talking fast now, desperate. We're targeting a new demographic. The family-oriented speed demons, you know? Buy a 2-seater convertible, get a free stroller. I looked at the car. Caleb, that car has 2 seats. There is no back seat. Where exactly does the baby go? In the glove compartment? Or do you strap the stroller to the roof like a bicycle? The delivery guy snorted, trying to hold back a laugh. Caleb's face turned a shade of purple that clashed horribly with the red car. It's symbolic. It represents the journey of life, fast cars and family values. It's ironic. Hipsters love irony. Ironic, I repeated, deadpan. So you're selling a $150,000 car with a bonus gift that implies the driver is a negligent parent? It's a disruptor in the market, Vic. You're a lawyer, you don't get marketing, he said, trying to regain his dignity but failing miserably because he was still blocking the box with his body. Right, I said, handing him the sandwich bag. Well, good luck with the disruptor strategy. By the way, is Lexi around? I have some ginger tea for her nausea. She's out, running errands, very far away, Caleb squeaked. Shame, I said. I turned to leave but stopped and looked back. Oh, and Caleb, if the stroller doesn't fit in the trunk, maybe try the passenger seat. I hear Lexi loves riding shotgun. I walked out of the showroom. As the glass doors closed behind me, I heard the delivery guy say, So, do you want me to return this, or are you gonna cry? I got into my car and laughed until my ribs hurt. The idiot was buying baby gear with the company credit card and having it delivered to the showroom. He was making it too easy. Caleb told me he was going on a spiritual retreat for stressed executives in the mountains. He said there would be no phone signal, only meditation and kale smoothies. I knew he was actually at the retreat of a 2-bedroom apartment in the Lower East Side, the address I had peeled off the stroller box before he could hide it. I waited until I saw Lexi post a photo on social media captioned, Prenatal Yoga Class, Namaste Baby, the check-in at a studio 10 blocks away. Caleb was likely at the gym, trying to maintain the physique of a man half his age. The coast was clear. I arrived at the building. It was one of those trendy, new constructions that looked like a stack of shipping containers painted gray. I approached the doorman, adjusting my silk scarf and channeling my most authoritative aura. I didn't even have to lie. Excuse me, I said. I'm here for apartment 4B. The young doorman looked up from his phone, squinted at me, and then his face lit up with recognition. Oh, you must be Lexi's grandma, he beamed, opening the door wide. She said her grandma was coming to help clean up the nursery. You look great for your age, ma'am. Very preserved. My left eye twitched. Grandma, preserved. I wanted to sue him for emotional distress. Instead, I smiled a smile that could freeze hell over. Thank you, young man. Grandmas are useful like that. I took the elevator up, fuming. I used the spare key hidden under the ugly welcome mat, because of course they used the oldest trick in the book. Except the apartment smelled of cheap vanilla candles and desperation. The decor was a disaster. Think Pinterest explosion. There were pillows everywhere that said things like live, laugh, love, and good vibes only. But the real comedy gold was in the closet. I opened the master wardrobe, expecting to find suits. Instead, I found Caleb's secret identity. Hanging there were all the clothes I had forbidden him from wearing. A pair of leather pants so tight they looked like they would cut off circulation to his brain, which explained a lot. A mesh tank top. A sequin jacket that looked like it belonged to a retired magician. This was his rebellion. He wasn't just cheating on me with a younger woman, he was cheating on dignity. He wanted to be 25 again. Then I saw the vision board taped to the mirror. Lexi had made a collage. There was a picture of my country house, a picture of my diamond ring, cut from a magazine. And right in the middle, a photo of Caleb, with glitter glue writing that said, Sugar Daddy and Baby Mama equals forever. I felt a mix of rage and hilarity. They were like children playing house with stolen money. I decided not to destroy anything. That was too messy. Instead, I decided to be helpful. Grandma was here to clean, after all. I went to the kitchen. I took the sugar jar and the salt jar, which looked identical. I poured the sugar into the salt jar and the salt into the sugar jar. Next, I went to the bathroom. I took his tube of extra-strength hair gel and replaced the contents with clear craftsmanship glue. Finally, I went back to the closet. I took a needle and thread from my purse. I quickly, expertly sewed the fly of his beloved leather pants shut. I checked my watch. Yoga was over in 20 minutes. As I left the building, the doorman waved. Have a nice day, Grandma. You too, I called back. I think I left the place much better than I found it. I imagined Caleb trying to put on those leather pants for a date night, realizing he was trapped in them, and then trying to wash his sorrow away with salty coffee. Petty? Yes. Satisfying? Absolutely. Caleb came home from his spiritual retreat, looking less like a Zen master and more like a raccoon that had been tumbled in a dryer. The pranks from the apartment had clearly taken their toll. His hair was standing up in weird, stiff spikes, the craft glue, and he was drinking water directly from the kitchen tap like a camel, the salt in the sugar jar. "How was the meditation, darling?" I asked, sitting on the sofa wrapped in a thick blanket, looking frail. "Intense." Caleb croaked. He scratched his head, and flakes of dry glue fell onto his shoulders like snow in July. "Very detoxifying. My body is expelling a lot of toxins." He tried to sit down next to me, but he winced and hovered halfway. The memory of the sewn-shut leather pants clearly still haunted his lower regions. He finally sat, but stiffly, like a mannequin. "Caleb," I said, putting a trembling hand on his knee, "I have something to tell you. While you were gone, I went to the doctor." Caleb's eyes widened. "Is it bad? Is it contagious?" He scooted an inch away. "Typical." "It's my heart," I lied. "The doctor said I have acute affluent stress disorder. Basically, managing all our money is killing me. If I don't reduce my stress, I could drop dead at any moment." I let out a theatrical cough that sounded more like a cat hacking up a hairball, but Caleb bought it. "Oh no," he said, trying to look sad, but I saw the dollar signs flashing in his eyes like a slot machine hitting the jackpot. "What can we do?" "I need to simplify," I whispered. "I've had my lawyers draw up a temporary asset management agreement. It gives you full control over the burdensome accounts, the debts, the liabilities, the risky investments. I'll just keep the boring, safe, liquid cash accounts so I don't have to worry." I pulled a thick stack of papers from under my blanket. "You would do that for me?" Caleb asked, his voice trembling with greed. He didn't hear debts and liabilities. He just heard full control. "I just want to rest," I sighed, handing him a pen. "But Caleb, it's a lot of paperwork. Are you sure you can handle it?" "I was born for this, Vic," he declared. He grabbed the pen. But then the comedy of errors continued. Caleb squinted at the paper. He blinked rapidly. "Is the font blurry?" he asked. "Oh, you didn't know?" I said innocently. "I accidentally knocked your contact lens case into the toilet this morning. I fished them out, but I thought you wouldn't want to wear them." Caleb, horrified. "You, what?" "So just sign where the sticky notes are, honey. Trust me." He was blind, he was itchy from the glue, and he was thirsty. He didn't read a single word. He just scribbled his signature on every page I pointed to. "Sign here." Transferring the failing commercial properties to his name. "Sign here." Admitting personal liability for the dealership loans. "Sign here." A post-nuptial amendment stating that infidelity voids his claim to the marital home. "There," he exclaimed, dropping the pen. "I've saved you, Vic. I've taken the burden." "You're a hero, Caleb," I said, taking the papers back and clutching them to my chest. "A real hero." Just then, his phone buzzed on the table. A message popped up, the font size set to extra large because he was blind without his contacts. Sender, Lexi message. "Baby daddy, did you bring the leather pants? I want to play bad cop tonight." Caleb lunged for the phone, slipped on the hardwood floor in his socks, and face planted into the rug. "It's spam," he yelled into the carpet. "Just spam about pants." I patted his glue-crusted head. "Of course it is, darling. Rest now. You have a lot of debt. I mean duties, to manage tomorrow." The night of the charity gala arrived. This was supposed to be Caleb's big moment to shine as the new face of the foundation. I wanted to make sure he shone. Literally. That morning, I had helpfully replaced his expensive organic daily moisturizer with a gradual self-tanning lotion meant for legs, the deep bronze shade. By the time we stepped into the limousine, Caleb didn't look sun-kissed. He looked like a radioactive carrot, or an Oompa Loompa who had rolled in Cheeto dust. "Do I look okay?" he asked, checking his reflection in the car window. "I feel vibrant." "You look glowing, darling," I said, suppressing a cackle, "like a sunset, a very intense orange sunset." We arrived at the venue. The elite of the city were there in black tuxedos and elegant gowns. Caleb strode in, his orange face beaming under the chandeliers. People stared. He waved back, thinking they were admiring his charisma. They were actually wondering if he had liver failure. But the real entertainment was yet to come. I had texted Lexi earlier from a burner phone, posing as Caleb's assistant. Message. "Caleb wants to surprise everyone tonight. He wants to announce the baby during his speech. Bring the big gender reveal balloon. Dress code, festive and fun. Caleb took the stage. He tapped the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, he began, flashing his orange smile. I stand here today as a man of integrity, a man of transparency. At that exact moment, the double doors at the back of the hall burst open. Lexi marched in. While everyone else was wearing black and navy, Lexi was wearing a neon pink dress with ruffles that made her look like a walking cupcake. She was holding a massive black balloon that said, "Boy or girl," in gold glitter letters. She spotted Caleb on stage and waved frantically. Caleb stopped mid-sentence. His jaw dropped. The orange drained from his face, leaving him a weird beige color. "Who is that?" A donor whispered loudly near me. "I believe that's the entertainment," I whispered back, sipping my sparkling water. Lexi, thinking this was her cue, trotted up the aisle toward the stage. She tripped on her ruffles, stumbled, and accidentally let go of the balloon string. The giant balloon floated up, right toward the spinning ceiling fan above the stage. Caleb looked up. No, don't. Pop. The balloon exploded. It wasn't just confetti inside, it was glitter. Pounds of it. Blue glitter. It rained down on Caleb like a disco storm. It got in his hair, which was still stiff from the glue. It stuck to his orange face. It went into his open mouth. He stood there, a frozen, orange, glittery statue. He looked like a craft project gone wrong in a kindergarten class. "It's a boy." Lexi squealed from the floor, clapping her hands. The room was dead silent. A piece of blue confetti slowly drifted down and landed on the microphone with a soft thud. Caleb spat out a mouthful of glitter. I can explain," he choked, looking like he was crying blue tears. I stood up and started a slow clap. "Bravo," I shouted. "What a performance art piece. The burden of fatherhood. Bravo." The confused audience, not knowing what else to do, started clapping politely. Caleb looked at me with wild eyes. He knew. He finally knew. But he was covered in glitter and standing in front of 500 people. He couldn't do a thing. I raised my glass to him. "Checkmate, you clown." The morning after the gala, Caleb looked like a tie-dye experiment gone wrong. He had scrubbed his face raw, but the industrial-strength tanning lotion merely faded from traffic cone orange to a splotchy, rotting pumpkin. Combined with the blue glitter still stuck in his eyebrows and ears, he looked less like a businessman and more like a magical troll that lived under a bridge. I sat at the kitchen island, sipping black coffee, watching him pace frantically. "Vic, you have to believe me," he pleaded, blue glitter falling from his hair onto the pristine counter. "That woman, Lexi, she's a stalker, a crazed fan. I don't know why she thinks I'm the father." I hummed, turning a page of the newspaper. "Is that why you signed a lease for her apartment and bought her a stroller for your two-seater car?" Caleb froze. The color drained from his face, making the orange patches look even more distinct. I was being charitable. It's a tax write-off." "Save it, Caleb," I said, standing up. "You're done. And by the way, remember those papers you signed when I was dying last week? The asset management papers? Actually, that was a post-nuptial agreement transferring the house, the cars, and the bank accounts solely to me in the event of infidelity, which, thanks to your glittery gender reveal last night, is now public knowledge." I pointed to the front door. "Get out. You can't do this," he sputtered. "I live here." "Not anymore. I've packed a bag for you." I kicked a small plastic grocery bag across the floor. It contained one pair of socks, his toothbrush, and the bottle of fake tanning lotion. Caleb grabbed the bag, indignant. "Fine. I'll go to the hotel. You'll be hearing from my lawyer." "I am your lawyer, you idiot," I reminded him. He stormed out the front door, slamming it behind him for dramatic effect. I waited 3 seconds. Then I locked the door and activated the fortress mode on our high-end smart security system. Then, the comedy began. Through the security camera feed on my tablet, I watched Caleb realize he had left his car keys on the counter. He turned around and marched back to the front door. He tried the handle. Locked. He pressed his thumb against the biometric fingerprint scanner. Beep, beep, beep. Access denied. The scanner couldn't read his print because of the layers of dried craft glue still stuck to his fingers from my hair gel prank. He wiped his finger on his pants and tried again. Access denied. "Stupid machine," he yelled, kicking the door. Then, he tried the Face ID camera. He leaned in close, staring into the lens with his blotchy orange skin, blue glitter eyebrows, and bloodshot eyes. The robotic voice of the security system boomed through the outdoor speakers. Warning. Unidentified subject detected. Face not recognized. Possible threat, circus clown. I laughed so hard I nearly choked on my coffee. The AI didn't recognize him because he looked ridiculous. Caleb screamed at the camera. "It's Meleb! Open the door!" "Intruder alert," the system replied calmly, releasing sprinklers. Whoosh! The lawn sprinklers popped up, but not just the gentle mist setting. I had programmed them to monsoon mode. Jets of water blasted Caleb from all angles. The water mixed with the fake tan and the glitter, turning him into a dripping, muddy, sparkly rainbow mess. He slipped on the wet porch and slid down the steps like a seal. From the driveway, a car pulled up. It was Lexi in her beat-up sedan. She rolled down the window. "Babe, why are you taking a shower outside?" she asked, popping gum. Caleb lay in the mud, defeated. He looked up at the security camera, at me. I spoke into the intercom. "Don't worry about the car keys, Caleb. I had the sports car towed this morning. It's parked somewhere in New Jersey." "Good luck." Lexi honked the horn. "Come on, get in. My grandma's coming over later to fix the pants." Caleb crawled into Lexi's car, leaving a trail of blue slime. As they drove away, the security system chirped one last time. "Trash removal complete. Have a nice day, Victoria." "Thank you," I said to the empty house. "I believe I will." Reality hit Caleb hard. Specifically, it hit him in the lower back. He woke up the next morning not in his custom-made king-sized bed with Egyptian cotton sheets, but on a futon. A used futon. One that smelled vaguely of wet dog and corn chips. He tried to sit up, but the mattress was so thin he could feel the metal bars of the frame digging into his ribs. He groaned, rubbing his eyes. His hands were still stained orange. "Morning, Daddy," Lexi chirped. She was standing in the kitchenette, which was approximately 3 feet away from the bed, because the whole apartment was the size of Victoria's walk-in closet. She was wearing a t-shirt that said, "Wake and Bake." "I made breakfast," she announced, dropping a plate onto his lap. Caleb looked down. On the plate was a black charred disc. "It's toast?" Caleb guessed. "No, it's a keto-friendly, gluten-free, joy-free almond flour pancake," Lexi beamed. "And I made you a smoothie. It's green algae and kale. It helps with the, skin situation." She pointed to his face, which was now peeling, making him look like a lizard shedding its skin. Caleb took a sip of the green sludge. He gagged. It tasted like lawn clippings and dirt. "Delicious, babe," he lied, trying not to vomit. "I need to go to work. I need to sort this out." He reached for his wallet. He still had his dignity. He still had his black card. Or so he thought. He dressed in the only clothes he had, a pair of sweatpants Lexi had bought him from a discount bin that said "Juicy" on the butt. He looked ridiculous. He marched down to the local coffee shop. He needed a triple shot espresso to survive. "That'll be $6, the teenager at the counter said, staring at Caleb's orange face and juicy pants. Caleb slapped his heavy metal credit card on the counter with a flourish. "Keep the change." The teenager swiped it. Beep. "Declined?" The kid deadpanned. "Impossible," Caleb scoffed. "Swipe it again. It's a platinum chip." Beep. "Declined. It says card reported stolen by owner." "I am the owner," Caleb shouted. "Sir, the screen says the owner is a Mrs. Victoria Sinclair, and the note says, unauthorized user. Suspect is an orange male with poor judgment." The line of people behind Caleb started giggling. Caleb snatched the card back and stormed out. He called the bank immediately. "Hello, this is Premier Banking," a smooth voice answered. "This is Caleb Sinclair. Why is my card frozen?" "Ah, Mr. Sinclair," the agent said cheerfully. "We received instructions from the primary account holder. You have been removed from the joint account due to a violation of the morality clause in the contract." "What morality clause?" Section 4, paragraph 2. If the secondary user embarrasses the family name with confetti and glitter, access is revoked. "She wrote that in yesterday." Caleb screamed. "Actually, sir, she updated the terms this morning at 8 a.m. Since you have no income of your own, well, have a nice day." Click. Caleb stood on the sidewalk. He had no money. He had no car. He was wearing pants with a slogan on his rear end, and his stomach was rumbling from the algae smoothie. He walked back to Lexi's apartment, defeated. "Babe," Lexi yelled when he walked in. "Good news, I found a way we can make money." Caleb perked up. "Really? Did you get a job? No, better. She held up her phone. We can be influencers. People love disaster couples. We can live stream your orange face peeling off. I already made a TikTok. It has 10,000 views. She shoved the camera in his face. Say hi to the fans, pumpkin. Caleb stared into the lens. This was his hell. And he had rented it for a 12-month lease. Desperation has a smell. On Caleb, it smelled like stale sweat and cheap hairspray. It had been a week since the eviction. The influencer career wasn't taking off because Caleb's peeling orange face scared the viewers. They had $12 left. Don't worry, babe, Caleb told Lexi, puffing out his chest, which was currently covered in a stained undershirt. I have a backup plan. The emergency fund. He went to his gym bag and pulled out his velvet watch case. Inside sat his prized possession, the gold luxury watch he had bought 5 years ago for $30,000. I'll pawn this, he declared like a war hero going into battle. We'll get 20 grand, easy. We can get a hotel. He marched to the nearest pawn shop, a shady place with bars on the windows. He slammed the watch on the counter. Give me 20,000, Caleb demanded. The pawnbroker, a guy with a toothpick in his mouth and zero patience, picked up the watch. He put a jeweler's loop to his eye. He looked at the watch. Then he looked at Caleb. Then he started laughing, a wheezy, dry laugh. 20,000? The guy choked out. Buddy, I'll give you $20, and that's generous. How dare you? Caleb screamed. That is a Swiss masterpiece. Look closer, genius, the pawnbroker said, tossing the watch back. Caleb squinted. On the dial in tiny gold letters, it didn't spell the famous brand name correctly. It was spelled with an extra X, Rolex X, and on the back, engraved in tiny script, was a message. Happy anniversary, darling. I swapped the real one for this replica 3 years ago when you lost your wedding ring. Love, Vic. Caleb's knees gave out. He slid down the counter. She knew. She had known for years that he was careless and stupid. She had been playing the long game while he was playing checkers. He walked back to the apartment, defeated, clutching the fake watch and a $20 bill. When he opened the door, he expected to find Lexi waiting for him. Instead, he found her packing. Not just packing, she was shoving everything into garbage bags. The toaster, the blender, the half-empty bottle of shampoo. Lexi? Caleb asked, his voice trembling. What are you doing? I'm leaving, Caleb, she said, not even looking at him. My ex-boyfriend just got out of rehab and he has a jet ski. You have a fake watch and pants that say juicy. But our family, Caleb stammered. The baby. You can't raise our child on a jet ski. Lexi stopped zip-tying a bag. She looked at him with genuine confusion. Then a look of realization dawned on her face. She started giggling. Oh my God, she laughed. You still believe that? Believe what? Caleb, honey, she said, patting his cheek. I'm not pregnant. I never was. Caleb blinked. But the ultrasound, the morning sickness, the mimosa test. The ultrasound was a picture I downloaded from Google Images. Search cute 12-week fetus. It's the first result, she explained nonchalantly. And the vomiting? I'm lactose intolerant, and I ate a cheese pizza before coming over that day. And the belly? That's just gluten bloating. I really need to cut out bread. Caleb stood there, his mouth opening and closing like a fish. No baby, no money, no wife, no house. Just a fake watch and a girlfriend who faked a pregnancy because she was bloated from pizza. You monster, he whispered. Don't be dramatic, Lexi said, checking her phone. Oh, my ride is here. She grabbed her bags and the toaster. Wait, Caleb cried, grabbing her arm. You can't leave me here. I can't pay the rent. I don't know how to use the laundromat. Figure it out, Daddy, she said, winking. She walked out the door. Through the window, Caleb watched her hop onto the back of a jet ski that was being towed by a pickup truck. He was alone in the tiny apartment. Then his phone pinged. A notification from the bank app, which he could still see but not touch. New transaction on joint account. Payee, local pawnshop amount, plus $30,000. Note, sold Caleb's real watch, going to Tuscany. Ciao. Caleb screamed so loud the neighbors banged on the wall. Shut up, orange boy, they yelled. Caleb curled up on the futon and cried into the juicy sweatpants. 6 months later. The sun in Tuscany hits differently than the sun in New York. It doesn't glare, it caresses. I sat on the terrace of my newly renovated villa, overlooking a sea of rolling vineyards. The air smelled of rosemary and freedom. Marcus, my private investigator, and now my very charming tennis partner walked over with 2 glasses of Chianti. "To the Rolex Fund," he toasted, a mischievous glint in his eye. "To the Rolex Fund," I laughed, clinking my glass against his. The sale of Caleb's fake watch didn't just pay for this vacation, it paid for the new infinity pool. Every time I swam a lap, I thought of Caleb's vanity financing my cardio. It was poetic. I picked up the latest issue of Global Business magazine lying on the table. I was on the cover. The headline read, "Victoria Sinclair, How to Cut Dead Weight and Double Your Net Worth." I looked fabulous. I looked 10 years younger. I looked like a woman who had shed 180 pounds of useless husband. Meanwhile, across the ocean, in a grim parking lot in New Jersey, Caleb was also dealing with cars, but not selling luxury convertibles. He was standing outside Larry's Discount Car Wash and Lube, wearing a neon yellow polyester uniform that was 2 sizes too big. It chafed in places he didn't know could chafe. His job title was Hygiene Technician, which meant he scrubbed bird poop off bumpers. The fake tan had finally faded, but it had left him with a permanent, patchy discoloration that made him look like a map of the world. "Hey, you missed a spot," a customer yelled. It was a teenager in a beat-up sedan. "I'm getting it, sir," Caleb grumbled, dipping his sponge into a bucket of gray, soapy water. He scrubbed furiously. As he wiped the windshield, he looked through the glass and saw a newspaper on the passenger seat. There she was, Victoria's face smiling at him from the front page. Caleb froze. He leaned in closer, squinting. The subheadline read, "Sinclair's ex-husband, where is he now? Nobody cares." It didn't actually say that, but in Caleb's paranoid mind, it might as well have. "Hey, stop reading my paper and scrub," the teenager honked the horn. Startled, Caleb jumped. He stepped backward, forgetting that he had left the bucket of soapy water right behind his heels. Splash! Caleb's feet went up. His body went down. He landed butt first directly into the bucket. He was stuck. Literally stuck. His hips were wedged tight into the plastic pail. He flailed his legs like an overturned turtle, suds flying everywhere. "Help!" he squeaked. "I'm stuck." The teenager started filming with his phone. "Yo, check it out. The car wash guy is wearing a bucket diaper." Caleb struggled, his face turning red, clashing beautifully with his patchy orange skin. He tried to stand up, but the bucket came with him, attached to his rear end like a sad plastic shell. He waddled around the parking lot, dripping wet, looking for his boss, while the other employees pointed and laughed. Back in Tuscany, I felt a sudden, inexplicable urge to smile. "What is it?" Marcus asked, watching me grin at the sunset. "Nothing," I said, taking a sip of wine. "I just have a feeling that somewhere, the universe is balancing the scales, and it probably involves a bucket." I set the glass down. The nightmare was over. The drama was finished. I took a deep breath of the sweet Italian air. The best revenge isn't anger. It isn't even justice. It's being so happy that you forget they even exist. But knowing they are stuck in a bucket doesn't hurt either. That evening, after Marcus had gone inside to prepare dinner, I stayed on the terrace. The Tuscan sky was painting itself in shades of violet and burnt orange, a masterpiece no money could buy. I reached into my pocket. I didn't pull out a phone, or a contract, or a diamond. I pulled out a small, folded piece of paper. It wasn't the ultrasound photo. I had burned that months ago. It was a letter I had written to myself on the plane ride over here. It simply read, "Forgive yourself for not seeing it sooner. You were busy loving, and that is never a crime." For months, I had focused on the anger, the plotting, the satisfaction of the checkmate. But beneath the armor of the Iron Lady, there had been a wounded woman who felt old, used, and foolish. I took a sip of wine and looked at the vineyards stretching out into the twilight. I realized that the ultrasound in the desk drawer hadn't just signaled the end of my marriage. It was a wake-up call. It was the universe grabbing me by the shoulders and screaming, "You are not done yet." I wasn't just a 57-year-old divorcee. I was a woman with 30 years of wisdom, a heart that could still beat fast, and a life that was finally, truly mine. I didn't need to compete with a 23-year-old for space in my own life. I didn't need to buy affection with sports cars. Marcus stepped back onto the terrace, placing a warm hand on my shoulder. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to. The silence between us wasn't heavy like it had been with Caleb. It was comfortable. It was safe. "Are you thinking about the past?" he asked softly. I smiled, folding the note and tucking it away. No, I was thinking about how strange it is. Yeah, I thought my life was over when I opened that drawer. But actually, it was just the prologue. I looked up at the first star appearing in the sky. To anyone out there who thinks they are too old to start over or too broken to heal, the best chapters aren't the ones written in your youth. They are the ones you write when you finally know who you are. I raised my glass to the horizon. To the second spring, I whispered. And for the first time in a long time, the woman in the reflection of the glass wasn't a victim or a lawyer or a savior. She was just Victoria, and she was happy.